Welcome back, guys. Happy Sunday to everyone in the community. I hope you guys are having a great time. So, back to let you know what's happening, as regarding the Nigerian team, not just Super Eagles, but we also have the under 17 who are trying their best right now to see how far that they can push themselves in the World Cup women's category for the under 17. And right now, we now know their opponents, and it's going to be Italy. Big shout out to one of us in the community who actually commented that initially in the previous video I didn't know the country, but he mentioned it. And right now, I just wanted to give you some more details about this match. The match is going to be on the 28th, which is on Tuesday, and it's going to be against the Italy under 17 women's team. This Italy side is very strong. I've not watched their match yet, but from what I can see here, they are, or they were the group toppers in their group A. They got 9 points from their three games, so they had a perfect, uh, result in the group stages. And that is obviously a sign that they are going to be a very, very difficult side to play against. But I always say this anytime, any day. If any team can beat these big nations or these big countries, it has to be Nigerian team because I mean we always know how to hold our ground against tougher oppositions, and the girls found their feet. However late that came, we saw that in the last game against Samoa, which was obviously the only game that they won in the group stages, but they won it emphatically, 4 goals to 0. So that could be a start of a momentum that could drive the girls further off into this competition. And then also, there's been some really good uh, uh, talks from the coach, Bankole Oluwokere, who is obviously very optimistic about his girls. And, he believes that they can hold their own against any team, whether it's this Italian side that we have on Tuesday. So the spirit is high, the momentum is there, the motivation as well, coming from the 200 plus million Nigerians who are continuing to cheer them, and also NFF are loading supports upon support on these girls. So obviously, we expect them uh, to be very confident going into that game on Tuesday. But more on that coming later. Let's just move on and talk about other interesting stories. Of course, Alex Iwobi made history over the weekend when he completed his 300 appearances for the EPL. In total, talk about all the clubs that he has played. He's played in different clubs, starting from the Arsenal, and then Everton, Fulham, all these clubs. But in total, he has now completed 300 appearances, and he's the only Nigerian to hold this record, beating the likes of Kanu Nwankwo Papilo, Austin Jejo Kocha, talk about Shola Amobi, Mikel, Yobo, Yakubu, all of these guys, Wilfred Ndidi, all of these guys didn't make up to 300 appearances. And when you look at it, you realize that this is actually a big deal. You have to factor in the consistency of this young man. He's just 29 years old, but he has played all these games. He has played a lot of games in the EPL, and he's still pushing. Just to give you the stats, he played 100 matches for Arsenal and then moved on to Everton where he played 123 matches, and then Fulham bought him, I think, for a record fee that period, and then he has now capped 76 matches. The game against Arsenal yesterday was his 76th appearance for Fulham, and bringing it to a total of 300 appearances. He's probably going to get a placard from the league, for reaching such milestone. And as I said before, he's the only Nigerian to have made that much appearances. But in Africa, he now joins one of five players who have done it before. We talk about the likes of Kolo who had 353 appearances total. Mohamed Salah comes second with 309 appearances. Wilfred Zaha comes third with 305. Jordan Ayew comes fourth with 305. And then Alex will be with 300 appearances. He's definitely going to top, Mo Salah, who stays at 9. So, I mean, before the season ends, he's definitely going to be top two of the African players with the most appearances. Good one for the man. We hope to see him keep pushing on. As I always say, he's always been a very consistent player for club and country, and I sometimes I feel like we don't appreciate him as much as we should. This guy is always there, to go whenever it's needed. We don't hear injury issues. He's not that prone to injury. I've not heard that Alex Iwobi went more than 3 weeks or 4 weeks due to injury. He's always been very strong and consistent, so he needs more credit. But let's move on and talk about another Nigerian player who's making waves and breaking records, winning awards as well in the Turkish Super League, and it's that man, Paul Onuachu, the big man himself. He has now won the goal of the month for the month of September with his acrobatic goal. He received that award in their last match when he was being given a plaque, not a plaque or a board, with the picture of his acrobatic goal. Aside from scoring beautiful goals, Paul Onachu is currently the top goal scorer in the Turkey Super League with 7 goals, and this is so nice to see. And I mean, I just think that he's going to make the cut when Coach Eric Shaw finally decides to release his list for November games next week. Good one for the man. We wish him all the best and we wish that he keeps pushing and keeps getting the goals. But let's move on beyond that and talk about what Coach Eric Shaw has now said about his goalkeeper Stanley Nwabali. Of course, there's been all of these talks here and there about Stanley Nwabali in danger of losing his place as a first choice goalkeeper for Coach Eric Shaw. Because of the obvious reason he's been acting up here and there, making one too many mistakes that could have really cost us in recent games. But Coach Eric Shaw, when he was having this interview with is the legend of the Super Eagles, the person of Shegun Odegbami, he said that he still trusts Stanley Nwabali, that he's seen all of these talks, he's seen all of these reactions from Nigerians, and also he has experienced it, firsthand, the mistakes that Stanley Nwabali had made in recent games. But Eric Shaw believes that Nwabali is the prototype of the kind of goalkeeper that he would want to have and continue to have in the team. He also made reference to himself back when he was playing. He said he had this one goalkeeper back during his day, and he said this goalkeeper had a striking resemblance or characteristic to Wabali in terms of their strength, their confidence level, uh, the fighting spirit, and all of that stuff. So he says that he wants that in his goalkeeper, and for all he cares, Stanley Wabali is doing a good job just as much as all of the other players. But he says that there is always room for improvement. Says that it's nothing talking to him cannot solve, cannot sort out. That sometimes Wabali can get a little bit crazy, a little bit overconfident, but talking to him will obviously make him to be able to understand when to calm down and when to be overly expressive on the pitch. So that's what Coach Eric Shell is maintaining right now. So obviously, what this means is that Stanley Nwabali will still retain his position as the number 1 choice goalkeeper going into this November games, in the playoffs. But this is what he said in his own word. He said, I prefer to talk about it now. This is the emotion. Everybody talks about emotions. The reality is that nobody knows what I am asking my player. Maybe I ask Nwabali to be strong. I don't want a nice guy in my goal. I play with a goalkeeper whose name is Vadran Ronje. He is a Serbian goalkeeper. The guy was so crazy on the pitch, and because he was so crazy in the defense, we were crazy too. I need to have a player with character. Maybe sometimes he needs to relax. The reality is Stanley gives everything for his teammates, for his team, and for his country. So sometimes he makes some mistakes, and this is normal. But the reality is he gives everything. All the players in this team gave everything, and they will give everything again. He needs some time to be more calm, but the reality now is that we have him against Gabon and we will go with all the players who can bring something. Stanley or maybe the other goalkeeper or players. I won't talk about what happened before. This is not important. The most important now is Gabon. So that is what the words from Coach Eric Shell. Obviously, confirming that Stanley Nwabali is still going to be trusted going forward, but that he probably might need to talk to him to let him know that he needs to be calming down sometimes, and try to be in control of his emotion when he's on the pitch. Uh, hope that it goes well for him. And of course, I really love Stanley Nwabali. I enjoy watching him play, and you know, I hope to see him continuing to play and continuing to be one of our trusted goalkeepers that gets called in every time we get to regroup the team. Because obviously, if you look at the goalkeeping situation before Stanley Nwabali, you remember the likes of Uzoho, and then you now know what it really means. The kind of blessing that we have in having a goalkeeper who is confident like Stanley Nwabali. You know, so that's my own take for this. But make sure to leave your reaction, what you think about any of the stories, particularly what Kuchericha said about Stanley Nwabali, that is trusting him to still remain the first choice goalkeeper. Do you think it's a good idea, or should he listen to uh, the ex internationals or some of the ex internationals who are saying that Stanley needs to be changed?